that night, for everything that hangs on a tree is cursed. And I talked to some rabbis and some Hasidic Jewish leaders, and they said that the reason why is because the person who is crucified as a criminal, according to God's law, they are cursed individuals in this life, and whatever's in the next life is not for them. They are done. These people will never see the kingdom of God. They are done. So this person is cursed. Yes, that's why it's there. And it all hit home for me. I now know why they wanted to crucify Jesus. I now know why Jesus did not want to be crucified. And I now know why crucifixion was not a method unto salvation. Number one, Jesus came to a people who were the children of Israel who had forgotten and completely abandoned God's true message. There was a group of them called the Pharisees and the Sadducees, which Jesus said that they were a murderous and adulterous nation. They had become so entrapped in the law that they completely forgot about the spirit of the law and the spirit of religion and having connection with their Creator. And they actually turned religion into a way to get rich. They were using religion in a way to subjugate human beings. They were making themselves prestigious and using the law to subjugate everyone else. And Jesus came to put that down. He came to knock them off of their pedestal, to show them for who they were, and to put people back on a level footing with God. And He himself even told them this. He even brought this to them many times. And He came to show the children of Israel that God's law was sent in order to help human beings live a life according to God's pleasure and to please Him, not for them to please themselves. And He did this with walking through the cornfield on the Sabbath and other things that He did. He was trying to show them this. And this was the problem of the Jews. This was the problem of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Is number one, Jesus was not the Messiah they were hoping for. Their Messiah that they were looking for was a Messiah that was going to come sit on the throne of Solomon and rule the world with an iron fist in the law of Judah. This was what they were looking for in a Messiah. But this was not Jesus. Jesus was renouncing the world at every chance He could get. And they did not like that. But Jesus was trying to explain to them that I have not come to bring you the kingdom of this world. I've come to bring you the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of the hereafter, to take you to paradise. That's what I have come to do. But they were not trying to hear that because they had become so attached to this world that they did not want to leave it. That this was the only way they could find success was in this world. That wasn't the worst crime though. The worst crime that Jesus committed was that He challenged the status of those who were in authority. He challenged their position. He challenged their system. He challenged the status quo of the day of the people who were using the law to subjugate human beings. And I don't care what your message is. I don't care how good of a message you have. I don't care how good of a human being you are. The moment your message becomes a direct threat to those in authority, to those who are using their power and their prestige to subjugate human beings, you will become public enemy number one. I don't care what your message is. And Jesus put Himself in this position. So what happened? They had to get rid of Him. They had to get rid of Him. Jesus had to go. So if you look at through the New Testament, the first four Gospels, there are many places where the Jews tried to trap Jesus in His own words in order to get Him to look like a fool, in order to disgrace Him in front of the people. And many times they even tried to get Him to put Himself at direct odds with the ruler of the day, who was Caesar. When they came to Him one time, they asked Him, and they tried to trick Him, they asked Him, should we pay taxes to Caesar? Had Jesus said no, that's capital crime. Automatically, Caesar would have chopped his head off on the spot. What did Jesus say? He tricked them back. He said, give to God what belongs to God, and you give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. And they were very angry. There are many times they tried to trap Him with His words, but they were unable to do so. So what they decided to do was, not only should we get rid of Him, not only do we need to get rid of this guy, but they could have killed Him. They could have just killed Him. Jesus had no tribe. He had no lineage. He had no father. For goodness sakes, He had no one to support Him. So they could have just killed Him and gotten rid of Him. But that would not have killed His message. What they wanted to do was discredit Him and His message. And there was one sure way to do that. They figured out one sure way to get Him discredited was to crucify Him. Because they knew if we can crucify Jesus as a criminal according to the law, and crucify Him according to the very law He's saying that He's coming to fulfill, we can now crucify Him as a criminal according to it, and curse Him as a criminal according to it. He will look like the biggest fool on the face of the earth. So this was the goal. Get Jesus crucified. And there were different ways to do that. They started saying that, number one way, they started saying that He was calling Himself the King of the Jews. And he was saying that he was the king of the Jews, and that directly put him at threat to Caesar's rule. Because it was not necessarily him calling himself God or the Son of God that got him crucified. Because the person who went on the cross, when they nailed the sign above the cross, what did it say? Did it say, here lies the Son of God or God in the flesh? No. They said, here lies the King of the Jews. This was the biggest crime that they were pushing against him. And they were using some of the things he said to deduce that he was putting himself at a divine nature with God, which is a capital